and peace, you guys. The other day, I did a reaction video to Congressman Al Green and his conversation that he was having with Al Sharpton, where he was advocating for a Department of Reconciliation. And if you haven't watched that video, please go back and watch it, because it is a masterclass in watching the pro-wokety woke Black Democrat delegation attempt to make sure that as many Blacks as possible remain on the Democrat plantation by offering and making promises that they know they have no intention on keeping. So basically, it's business as usual. But today I want to react to the viral clapback that this young Black American gentleman, basically, he told the National Action Network and its leadership and Al Sharpton to their face that y'all are old, y'all are out of touch, ain't nobody listening to you. We're not afraid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump's racist. Joe Biden's a racist. Kamala's a racist, and y'all ain't got there's no connection. We have no connection to anything that's going on here. And basically, I just want to react to it. So,
if you're 35 years old or younger, raise your hand. 4 people. So here's the thing. Y'all in trouble. Yesterday you had Al Green up here talking about we need a Secretary of Reconciliation, and then that's going to include what he said was reparations, which, by the way, wasn't reparations. Reparations is more than a check, but the very first thing it is a check. And come this year during the midterms and in 2028, if you don't have our check, you won't get no vote. No check, no vote. Yeah, I know that ain't what you want to hear, but that's what's happening. All of y'all in here, with all due respect, you're beautiful, but you're old. You're not talking to the youth. You don't know how to talk to the youth. You try to tell us what to do. We're not having it no more. So if you want our vote, you got to come with our paper. We're not scared of Trump. We're not scared of anybody. Biden is a racist. Trump is a racist. Kamala is a racist. And if you don't have our money, you don't get our vote. Yeah, who are you? Oh, all right, yeah, so like I was saying, I'm going to land my plane right there, but the Democrats are no better than the Republicans. No check, no vote. Y'all take care. And somebody get my man a tissue. He need a tissue.
Okay, y'all, you know why this is funny to me? First things first, ideologically, I don't align with these people, but I first want to make some comments on just initial observations. Is it me, or is anyone else notice that liberal Black men are incredibly emotional like their matriarchal counterparts? Now, I'm going to make an observation. You have 2 Black men here, the one in the white and the one in the black. Now, the one in the black, has a little bit more masculine aggression, but the way he handled and carried himself was very emotional. It was more like a false masculinity. And although I applaud his bravery for at least at minimum confronting Democrats on their BS, his worldview still needs to be shaped a little bit more, because he's still wrong. He was still talking about reparations and that, it needs to be a check. And if you don't have our check, you don't get our vote, without even understanding how the Black community could even begin to get reparations in the first place. This comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of not just economics and the way the world works, but the Black community, by and large, has been discipled under a socialistic framework. What do I mean? We are well trained in protest and begging and whining and crying. We know how to do that very well. But we've also been trained to look to government for the answers to our problems. Unlike in a capitalistic framework, if you look at the Asian community, if you look at the Indian community, if you look at immigrant Africans who come to this America, they are well trained in capitalism and not socialism. And how we know this is because we never hear Indians and Asians and Africans complaining about representation, begging the government for what they're owed and what they should have, and give us this program and give us that program. And we don't have enough people that look like us in office here, and give us this symbolism, give us this statue, give us free. Like, you just don't hear them speaking in those kinds of categories because they're too busy focusing on greenery. And when I say greenery, I am specifically talking about greenery as in growth and greenery as in money. The African, the Asian, the Indian is focused on how many gas stations, beauty supply stores, nail salons, hotels, and motels can we erect in these neighborhoods so we can earn our check. Whereas the Black American, this young gentleman here, is coming from a place of liberation language and reparation requests and wanting money. Now, he is acknowledging that Democrats are trash, and he's right. They are completely disconnected. Everybody in here is old. They either in their early millions and just are completely indoctrinated and inculcated in Democrat politics. And they don't realize that they are still voting for their own oppression, yet claiming that it's the rich white Republicans who are nowhere to be found anywhere, mind you. They're still blaming white supremacy, yet the people in charge in their communities and in their organizations and in their municipalities, at their universities, at their schools, their churches, all of the leadership in these people's lives are Black. So exactly what are we talking about here? The second observation that I wanted to make is that now look at his counterpart here. I'm not trying to be funny, but this young fella look like he got some sugar in his tank. He really do. He just all soft and mealy mouth and effeminate looking, unable to really assert himself with the mic. Like homeboy to his right was manhandling him over this mic. And it was like they were in a tug of war over the mic. And dude looked at him like, who are you? Like he manhandled him. Do you see the aggression and the violence? The two of them, the way they both engaged, are two sides of the same coin. Two different ends of the spectrum of the matriarchal squalor that's represented right here on this dais. All of these Black women. All of these Black women sitting up here, as you're going to see later with the Reverend Al Sharpton, represents the bastions of who's in charge and who are the leaders within the Black community. It's a bunch of matriarchal miscreants. Older Black women who are dependent on the government, who are not shaping the next generation so that we can build strong families. No. Most of these women, if they're married, their husbands are emasculated. And if there is a husband in the picture at all, and the reason why we know a lot of times that the husbands are either emasculated or not in the picture at all, because they're voting for Democrats. Masculine Black men who know who they are and who are sure of themselves and who hold themselves in high regard with dignity and respect no longer vote for Democrats because they've recognized that over here is a bunch of saucy sodomites, and so they don't want to have anything to do with that. They get a visceral reaction when they're around men like this dude on the left with the white little jacket on. Masculine Black men don't want to be anywhere near the National Action Network because they see Al Sharpton as the pulpit pimp, civil rights activist, shakedown fraud that he is, and they know that he is the problem in the Black community. And so they've defected from the Black community, and masculine Black men who are leading their families and functioning in their freedom, who want to stand on their own 2 feet and who don't want anything from the government, they're not Democrats. They may identify as independent, but they are overwhelmingly way more conservative in their worldview. They ain't all for all this LGBT stuff. They're not in support of all this open border immigration stuff. They don't want free handouts from the government. They don't want y'all's health care. They don't want y'all's child care. They don't want your free grocery store, your EBT, or your Section 8. They don't want any of that. And the last thing, the masculine black man who knows who he is thinking about is a reparations check that he knows is never going to come. He would rather focus on putting his mind to something of use and substance, such as how many hours can I work this week? How much money can I save this week? How can I keep more of what I earn and keep the government out of my life, as opposed to saying, well, how could I get more things from the government? Now, that's the first observation that I made. Just looking at the way these two were interacting, it was absolutely hilarious. Now, listen to the response from, the less masculine black man now that he's finally obtained ownership of the mic again.
Thank you. First, let me clarify something. There are many young people that are part of the National Action Network. I happen to be one of them. I may look old, but I'm not old. And we have, Nan actually brought young people from out of town to the convention under the leadership of Ashley Sharpton and Reverend Cassius Rudolph from HBCUs, and went on a whole college tour.
Why is it that these effeminate black men all have a lisp? I mean, is this something in their palate development that makes them talk like this? Like, what is all of this, the S and I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted you to observe. I don't really have any commentary, but I just wanted you to observe the difference between the opposite spectrums of these. These are black men, young black men, but one is on this end of the matriarchal squalor. This is the end result of too much matriarchal rule and not enough masculine male leadership. And then the other guy, as much as I appreciate his boldness and his willingness to confront, he was responding from a place of emotion, and his arguments are not well rooted in logic and reason. But I can tell you this. I can guarantee you, if I got the other young black man to sit down with some masculine conservative black men, we could easily win him over to our side with a little logic and reason. And basically, if we could check him on all that emotion and tell him, all right, homie, you need to dial it back and let us explain to you the reparations argument. Let us dispel for you why Donald Trump is not a racist and why you were true in calling Kamala Harris and Joe Biden a racist. But also, and we appreciate you acknowledging that you're not afraid of Trump. Because see, at least he recognizes that Trump is not doing anything to harm him. Or, well, I don't know. I can't say that he would actually agree with that, because if he's believing that Trump is a racist, he hasn't really parsed out much of the information that he has taken in, but he does have an awareness to an extent of the fact that the Democrats are a fraud, and Al Sharpton and his National Inaction Network is absolutely a fraud as well. But I just wanted to highlight, and I kind of mentioned this in my other video, when he was like, if you don't have our check, you're not going to get our vote. And I'm going to engage with that in a little bit. But the first thing I want to do is I want y'all to hear Reverend Al's clapback. We got to hear Reverend Al's clapback, and then I'll give my commentary on that.
No justice,
no peace.
no justice,
No peace.
no justice,
No peace.
no justice.
No peace.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
What do we want?
Justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
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 Shake hands with the person next to you. Tell them you.
Let me tell y'all something. This is the most ineffective organization that probably has ever existed. I feel sorry for these people. Now, okay, on some level, I feel sorry for them. But first of all, Al Sharpton is in his early millions at this point. He's been exploitated from the beginning. He has exploited Black people in order to enrich himself, and he is the chief overseer of Black Democrat politics. The Black community has been unable to loose itself from his grip, because I don't know what it is about. It's like he's like a siren that he just is able to lure these older Black people in with these chants that aren't even rooted in reality. Like, I saw a journalist interview many of the attendees at this National Action Network, and they asked him, well, what does no justice, no peace mean? And none of them could articulate what that meant. That's why I'm asking, what the heck is Black liberation? And at this point, like, what are you being liberated to? And where is it that you don't have any justice or any peace? Now, I know y'all don't have peace in your personal lives because you're void of the Holy Spirit and you don't know God. So people that don't know God tend to not have peace. I don't understand how a reverend, a pastor, someone who claims, not a pastor, but at least a preacher, is advocating and having people chant, no justice, no peace, when scripture admonishes us that you're not going to find peace or perfect justice this side of heaven. And if you think your man-centered tactics are going to achieve it, you are sorely mistaken and deceived. But that's not the crux of what I want to say here. I just want to highlight that, y'all, once Al Sharpton dies, this work is going to die. These people are done. These people are done. They are not changing hearts. They are not changing lives. They may absolutely probably be participating in some form of election interference with their propaganda. But the next generation, I am of the opinion to agree with the other young Black man that y'all don't know how to talk to Black people. I'm not even a young Black person, and I have nothing in common with these people. The perceived injustices that they're talking about do not exist. These people are just making it up. This is his grift. I don't know how much it costs you to attend the National Action Network conference, but this is a money grab, because these people this is theater. It is political theater to make you think that there is some sort of action taking place within this network of irrelevant people. But these people are not effective. They're not effective at all. Now, I'm going to fast forward it because I want to get to Al's clapback.
Let me say, in terms of our report for the year, and then we're going to go on with the program. Our young people are rehearsing, getting ready for this afternoon. This is our youth day. I heard somebody talk about young people. They tell them to just stay around. They're going to see two people.
Ooh, they going to see two young people, y'all. They going to see two. 1, 2, uno, dos. See, this is how you know that what that young man said struck a nerve. Al Sharpton couldn't let it go. Like, the individual who was here, you can tell that this is an echo chamber and they're not used to having their ideas challenged. And the only people who are truly welcome here who are those who parrot the exact talking points that they want. Because while I don't have any or very little alignment with what that young Black gentleman said, everything he said wasn't wrong. But instead of them engaging with what he said and just move or just ignoring it, if you think he's some sort of paid agitator, why are you engaging with what he said at all? You're engaging with what he said because he struck a nerve. And you're going to hear right here, Al can't let it go. So now he got to make a mountain out of what I believe was a really small molehill, because the guy's arguments weren't really that strong. Like I told you, I should know by now my thoughts on reparations. You're not getting a check. Like, that is the language of the lazy. For you to think that you are owed money for labor that you did not contribute from people who are no longer alive, like, You could be so much more productive by taking the energy and the focus that you put on reparations by just getting a job and working, starting a business, understand the rudiments of capitalism and economics. But talking about you don't got our check, you don't get a vote. What? That it's never gonna happen anyway. But Al Sharpton's about to answer with an answer that is still the wrong answer. But Al thought he was cooking with this response. Take a listen here.
Afternoon, all of the youth in there, and I don't know, but you get provocateurs, because anybody that is talking to somebody younger than them holding the mic, then you know that they paid agents. And if you're in the room, if you don't like me saying that, I'll say it again. Because you cannot get reparations without putting people in office that's going to pay them.
Okay, first of all, the people in office don't have the ability to pay the reparations. The reparations money, if you guys don't know, would have to come out of the U.S. Treasury. Now, what I believe he is saying is that we can't get to the reparations conversation unless you vote for people who are going to legislate on your behalf for the reparations. But like I said in my previous video, the only opportunity that you had that had the greatest percentage of you getting said legislation passed was when the Melanin Messiah was in office, where you had a filibuster-proof majority, meaning he had 60 votes, meaning he had a super majority, meaning if they wanted reparations, the Congressional Black Caucus combined with all of the other Democrats and combined with the Senate, all of the whole House of Representatives and the president, if reparations was real, and if they really thought that it was going to help, and if they actually had intentions on doing it, why didn't it come up? He was in office for 2 terms, and the first term he had a filibuster-proof majority. But did he prioritize your reparations? No, he prioritized stuff for his saucy sodomite friends. It was all about tasting the rainbow for Barack Obama. Of course, he lied to us in Obama 1.0, but by the time Barack Obama 2.0 came around, he was fully fledged and committed to pushing and passing his LGBT agenda initiatives. But reparations, oh no. And so I understand what Al's trying to say. He's like, the little young black guy is saying, if you don't have our check, you don't get our vote. And Al Sharpton's trying to punk him and say, you idiot, you can't get a check if you don't vote for us. But at this point, it's a merry-go-round. It's circular reasoning because they've already had the votes and you didn't get a check. There was no discussion of a check. You couldn't even sniff a check on the horizon. Coupled with the fact, how do you determine these United States of America to determine who is eligible for reparation? They know that it is statistically impossible to figure this out. And then 2, do you really think America is going to bankrupt the Treasury to pay the descendants of slaves who are alive today reparations? You're an idiot if you believe that. And if your argument is, well, the Japanese got it, you know what, you're right. America did some horrible things to the Japanese. But guess who got those reparations? People who were directly harmed and who was still alive at the time that Bill Clinton and his majority put the legislation in place for them to get what was owed to them. It was still in their lifetime. They were still alive. We could quantify, okay, what was the damage done? How many people were harmed and impacted? This is how much it's going to be. And it's a one-time payment. And you ain't heard a peep out of those Japanese people yet. They got their money and they moved on. It happened through the normal legislative process, which proves to you If Democrats were serious about reparations, they would have put a plan in place and they would have voted for it when there wasn't, even if 0 Republicans voted for it during Obama's first term, he could have passed it because he had enough votes to get it done. These people are not serious. So when Al Sharpton says, who gonna pay the money? Well, he's right. Who's gonna pay the money? But he's punking you by saying you have to vote for us and put us, or should I say, not put us, because they already in office. Basically, he's saying you gotta keep us in office in order for us to even broach the discussion. And what young dude is already saying is like, you've already been in office and we ain't heard you talk about it, or at least not substantively enough to where we believe that we're going to get it. And I hate to break it to the young brother, but it's because he's lying. Just like Al Green was lying, saying, well, we need a Department of Reconciliation. And, within that department, the Secretary of Reconciliation would report not to this president, but to a president. And then that's when we would bring the issue of reparations on his desk. I hate to say this, but the people who are over here and are aligned with the National Action Network, apart from Christ, there's no hope for these people. They too far gone. And they're over there. They'll be arguing amongst themselves because they're not interested in actually improving the outcomes. Like, I wonder how much conversation took place at this convention about school choice. I can guarantee you none. None, because Democrats don't support school choice because of the teachers union. So even though there are attendees here whose children are in a failing school, they are not going to discuss school choice, which says to me they want to keep things just the way they are. The outcomes you are receiving are on purpose, right? I can guarantee you, how many times did the issue of illegal immigration come up as a problem? Now, it probably came up in terms of them advocating for illegal immigrants, but in terms of them saying, look, they let these illegals in our communities, they depressed our wages, they took our jobs, they overcrowded our schools. You think they talked about that at the National Action Network? No, they can't. Because Al Sharpton is Team Democrat. He's not pro-black, he's pro-Democrat. But these people will never believe them. Why? Because it's overwhelmingly a bunch of silly women who are blind, who don't have any male headship in their life. They don't have the logic of a man to come behind and analyze what Al Sharpton has been saying and to tell these women, now, baby, does this make sense? Let me explain to you why this don't make no sense. All of the people in our community, the city council, the school superintendent, the mayor, the board of commissioners, everybody in charge is black. But this man wants us to holler, no justice, no peace. You're right, there is no peace in our community. Because Taquayshawn, like, they want to remove guns off the street, but Taquayshawn got a gun, but I can't have a gun to protect you and the rest of this family from Taquayshawn. But they want to holler, no justice, no peace. You're right, where's the justice for me? For us to honor the Second Amendment so that I can pop a cap and take Taquayshawn's behind when he want to come and carjack me and do a home invasion on me and terrorize the community. These are not conversations that are happening at the National Action Network. It's because Al Sharpton is a fraud, and he is precisely the problem with the whole black liberation narrative. What are we even talking about with black liberation? Because I'm like, liberation from what? Liberation from what? And then liberation to what? Because I don't care about the slogans and the chants and the virtue signaling of no justice, no peace when I look at the outcomes and the outcomes are trash and you and your people are still at the bottom. So I need to wrap it up. And I wanted to cover this because, one, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was funny how the young black guy, he has gone viral and people are like, yeah, he checked them. And depending on your worldview, you might think that he cooked. He simmered. I'll say he simmered because his worldview is still incredibly deficient and he doesn't have the full picture of the whole reparations argument. And he did sound a little ignorant by saying, if you don't have our check, you're not going to get our vote. And Al wasn't wrong by saying, you can't get a check if you don't vote for us. But the problem is, y'all have been voting for them, and you still don't have a check. But this is what happens when you have trained people in the rudiments of a socialistic framework and they've not had their muscles of capitalism trained. We're the only people group who are begging for a check, whereas other people groups are out here building and focused on economic development and educational advancement. And their kids are focused on the math and the sciences, and we're out here on the Tik Tok twerking. I'm just calling it like it is. The whole National Action Network and their failed liberation revolution is doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is nothing. Why? Because the outcomes that you see, that's the grift. Because as long as you stay at the bottom, they don't have anything to advocate for. They don't have anything to chant for. They can continue to cry, no justice, no peace, because there is no justice and no peace in your communities that are led by people who look like you. Y'all are the ones in charge, but yet you want to blame white supremacy and rich white Republicans who are nowhere to be found in your communities. It's these jokers right here that are keeping you oppressed. And this taskmaster right here, Al Sharpton, oh, absolutely. He's the chief man running that whole plantation. But until you realize that, you're going to continue to stay at the bottom and your outcomes are still going to be trash. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Do you agree with my assessment that the young man, he thought he was cooking, but his worldview is still a little deficient? And do you agree with Al Sharpton by saying, you want reparations, but how you gonna get it if you don't vote for us? It's a silly argument, but whatever it is that you guys think, leave me your comments down in the box below. And until next time, you guys stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.